Beloved, take a slow breath. Let it fill your lungs slowly, gently, and then let it go. Listen closely, not just with your ears, but with the quiet place inside you that notices what others overlook. Because there is something tender happening around you, something gentle and profound, and you may have felt it many times without ever finding the words to explain it. It shows itself in small, almost forgettable moments, in the way sunlight spills softly through the trees, touching everything without force, in the way a restless dog paces a room, unsettled, alert, until you step inside. And somehow, without command, without effort, its breathing slows, its body softens, it lies down. It appears in the cautious eyes of a cat watching from a doorway, still, guarded, unsure. And yet when you move quietly through the space, not demanding, not imposing, something shifts. The tension eases, the distance closes, it steps forward. These moments do not announce themselves. They do not arrive with applause or explanation. They happen quietly, almost shyly. There is a language being spoken in those spaces, a language without words, without performance, without pretense, a language of presence, of intention, of the unseen currents that move between living things. And animals seem to understand it better than anyone. If this message touched something in you, take a moment to honor that feeling. Gently like this video so more hearts can find it. Subscribe to the channel to continue walking this quiet path with us, and share this with someone who carries a calm presence the world needs more of. Stay soft, stay aware, and I'll meet you in the next breath. You can learn so much about a person, not from their achievements, not from their appearance, not from the confidence in their voice, but from how living beings respond when they walk into a space. Because living beings do not respond to performance, they respond to presence. Watch closely. A restless dog moves back and forth across the room, nails tapping against the floor, ears alert to every sound. Its body is tight with energy, scanning, waiting. Then you enter, quietly, without fanfare. You don't command attention, you don't raise your voice, and yet something shifts. The pacing slows, the tail lowers, the breathing steadies. Within moments, the same animal that could not settle is lying down nearby, head resting on its paws, eyes half closed in calm. You didn't force it, you didn't train it in that moment. You simply arrived. A cautious cat watches from the shadow of a doorway. Its body is low to the ground, muscles prepared to retreat at the slightest disturbance. It has learned to measure movements, to detect tension in the air. But when you move through the room, you do not disrupt it. You do not invade its space with hurried gestures or sharp energy. You move gently, intentionally, and slowly, almost curiously, it steps forward. The distance shortens. It circles once, then curls beside you, choosing proximity over protection. Step outside into open air. Birds perched on a fence continue their song when you walk into the yard. Their wings do not explode into flight. Their music does not fracture into alarm. The rhythm continues as if your presence blends into the morning rather than disturbing it. You are not perceived as intrusion. You are felt as part of the landscape. And it is not only animals. There are children who fidget and resist most people, yet sit calmly in your arms without explanation. There are anxious souls whose shoulders remain tense in crowded rooms, but lower almost imperceptibly when you sit beside them. Their breath deepens, their voice softens, their brard thins. You may not even speak much. You may not try to soothe. And yet, something about you soothes. Perhaps you have noticed these moments without fully naming them. They slip by quietly. A dog choosing your feet over anyone else's. A cat sleeping on your chest. A small bird returning to the same branch near you day after day. A nervous person lingering in conversation longer than usual, as if your presence makes the world feel less sharp. At some point, maybe late at night, maybe in passing, you wondered, why? Why do they respond to me this way? Why does tension seem to ease? Why do living things relax instead of retreat? You may have brushed the thought aside, told yourself it meant nothing, told yourself you were imagining patterns where none existed. But deep down, you felt it. This isn't about charm. This isn't about personality. It isn't about trying to be liked. And it certainly isn't superstition. It is alignment. There is something within you that has been shifting, quietly, steadily, into harmony. A steadiness in your nervous system, a gentleness in your reactions, a patience in your movements. Living beings are exquisitely sensitive to these things. They read tension faster than words. They detect agitation before it reaches the surface. They sense intention long before it becomes action. And when your presence carries calm instead of chaos, when your movements carry care instead of threat, when your silence feels safe instead of heavy, they respond. Not because you demand it, not because you control it, but because peace recognizes peace. There is a quiet language flowing through every room you enter, a language spoken in posture, in breath, in the invisible current of your spirit. You may not hear it with your ears, but the dog hears it, the cat hears it, the birds hear it, the anxious heart beside you hears it, and, without a single word, they answer.
Scripture reminds us of something the world often forgets. Peace recognizes peace. From the very beginning, creation was never designed to be numb or disconnected. It was formed by the breath of God Himself. It responds to order. It responds to care. It responds to harmony. The earth is not indifferent. It listens. It bears witness. It recognizes alignment when it sees it. This is why your presence matters more than you realize. The Word tells us in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths." Direction does not always come as a loud command or a dramatic sign. Often it comes as quiet alignment, a steady heart, a grounded spirit, a path that feels guided even when it is simple. When you begin to trust like that, not partially, not cautiously, but sincerely, something within you settles. And when something within you settles, the space around you feels it. James 3:17 says, "But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits." Notice the order: pure, peaceable, gentle. Heaven's wisdom is not frantic. It is not harsh. It does not push or intimidate. It carries strength without force, authority without aggression. When that kind of wisdom begins shaping your reactions, when it trains your voice to soften instead of sharpen, when it teaches your spirit to pause instead of erupt, you start reflecting something eternal, and living things recognize what comes from above. Psalm 23 paints the picture clearly. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul." God's leadership produces rest, still waters, restored souls, green pastures. Not chaos, not fear, not constant alarm, And when you walk closely with that shepherd, when you allow his pace to become your pace, you begin to carry that same atmosphere. You move through rooms the way he moves through hearts. Steady, intentional, protective, calm. Micah 6:8 makes it simple. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Not perform loudly, not impress spiritually, but walk humbly, love mercy, do what is right. This is not about perfection. It is not about religious performance. It is not about appearing flawless. It is about a sincere, lived yes to God. A yes in how you respond. A yes in how you treat what is fragile. A yes in how you handle power. A yes in how you move when no one applauds. Creation recognizes that yes. When your inner life begins aligning with his heart, when trust replaces striving, when humility replaces ego, when gentleness replaces control, there is a harmony that forms, and harmony is always felt. Peace recognizes peace. And when you carry it within you, the world, seen and unseen, responds. There was a season when you were not at peace. Not the kind of obvious chaos that everyone could see, but a quieter unrest, a subtle disconnection that followed you into rooms and lingered in your thoughts at night. You smiled when you needed to, you functioned, you showed up, but inside something felt unsettled. You questioned your instincts. Even the smallest decisions felt heavy. You replayed conversations long after they ended. You wondered if you had said too much or not enough. You measured your steps carefully, as if one wrong move might unravel everything you were trying to hold together. You doubted your worth, not always out loud, not dramatically, but quietly, in the background. You compared yourself. You second-guessed your gifts. You wondered whether you were behind, whether you were missing something others seemed to understand naturally. You walked cautiously through your own life, afraid of mistakes, afraid of disappointing God, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid that if you trusted your heart too much, it would lead you somewhere wrong. So you tightened your grip. You analyzed more than you rested. You tried to control outcomes instead of breathing through them. And in that season, even your body felt it. Your shoulders carried tension. Your voice sometimes carried hesitation. Your nervous system stayed on alert, bracing for correction, for failure, for loss. You may have blamed circumstances. You may have thought, this is just a hard chapter. And perhaps it was. But deeper than the circumstances was something more tender. Trust. Not just trust in God's existence, not just belief in his promises, but trust that he was shaping you intentionally. Trust that you were not defective. Trust that your growth was not delayed. Trust that you were allowed to take up space without apology. That season was real. It shaped you. It humbled you. It stretched you. But it has been loosening its grip. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, you began to notice that your reactions were softening, that you no longer spiraled as quickly, that you could sit with uncertainty without panicking, that you could make a decision without tearing yourself apart afterward. You began to breathe differently. Moments that once triggered fear now invited patience. Situations that once made you shrink now allowed you to stand a little steadier. You still have questions, you still have growth ahead, but something fundamental has shifted. You are learning to trust yourself again. Not in arrogance, not in self-reliance that pushes God aside, but in partnership with him. You are beginning to understand that his guidance is not distant or cruel, that he is not waiting for you to fail, that he walks with you, not ahead of you with folded arms. You are learning that when you move with humility, when you seek wisdom, when you pause and listen, you can trust the quiet confidence that follows. That gentle inner steadiness is not pride, it is alignment. The fear of constant missteps is fading. The need to overcorrect is softening. The belief that you must earn your place is dissolving. And in its place, something stronger is forming. A grounded trust, a partnership, a rhythm between your heart and his. You are no longer walking on eggshells inside your own calling. You are no longer apologizing for existing. You are no longer bracing for impact at every turn. You are becoming steady, and that steadiness is felt. The peace that animals respond to, the calm that anxious souls notice, it did not appear overnight. It was forged in that hidden season of wrestling and surrender. It was built in the moments you chose humility over pride. It was strengthened every time you returned to God instead of running from Him. You are not who you were in that restless season. You are softer but stronger, quieter but more certain, gentler but more grounded. And as that truth settles deeper into you, the music of your life changes key. What once felt sharp now feels steady. What once felt fragile now feels rooted. You are learning to trust yourself again, not because you believe you are flawless, but because you believe God is faithful. And that partnership is producing peace.
Look at the difference environment makes. Picture a home filled with shouting. Words are sharp. Doors close harder than they need to. Conversations feel like competitions. Even when no one is speaking, tension lingers in the walls. In that kind of space, animals rarely rest deeply. A dog stays alert, ears twitching at every shift in tone. A cat hides beneath furniture, watching carefully. Even the air feels unsettled, as if something invisible is always about to happen. Now picture another home. It is not perfect. The bills still need to be paid. The schedule is still busy. There are disagreements. There are tired evenings and unfinished tasks. But the tone is different. Voices lower instead of rise. Conflicts are handled with restraint. Apologies are spoken when necessary. Gratitude appears in small, ordinary moments. In that home, animals stretch out without fear. They sleep belly up in the middle of the floor. They follow their humans calmly from room to room, not out of anxiety, but affection. Even birds outside linger near the windows without frantic wings. The circumstances are not flawless. The people are not flawless. But the pattern is different. And that is the key. This is not about personality. It is about pattern. It is about the repeated choices that shape atmosphere over time. The way anger is handled, the way frustration is expressed, the way power is exercised when no one is watching. Patterns create climates, and climates are felt by everything living inside them. Animals are not impressed by status. They do not care about titles, money, appearance, or influence. They cannot be persuaded by performance. They read presence. They respond to nervous systems. They detect threat or safety in seconds. So when they relax near you, when they choose your feet as a resting place, when they follow you without fear, they are not reacting to your words. They are responding to the peace you carry. Peace is not loud. It does not demand attention, but it changes the temperature of a room, and living creatures feel temperature shifts immediately. Now, imagine a shepherd walking into a restless field at dusk. The sheep are scattered. Some are uneasy. Some are grazing nervously. The wind carries unfamiliar sounds. A lesser leader might shout, might wave his arms, might attempt to force order through volume. But a true shepherd understands something deeper. Authority was never meant to dominate. It was meant to protect. He steps into the field without panic. His pace is steady. His movements are measured. He does not run toward the flock. He does not overwhelm them with noise. His voice is calm, familiar, grounded. He calls out gently, and something happens. Heads lift, ears turn, the tension breaks.
One by one, the sheep begin to gather, not because they are afraid, but because they recognize him. They know his presence. They trust his rhythm. They feel safe within the sound of his voice. He does not chase them into alignment. He embodies it. The flock gathers. The field grows still. The sun lowers behind them, casting warm light over a scene that feels whole again. And now, hear this clearly. That is your life now. You are no longer entering spaces with frantic energy. You are no longer trying to control outcomes through force. You are walking more steadily, speaking more carefully, moving with intention rather than impulse. You are becoming someone whose presence gathers rather than scatters, someone whose calm steadies what is restless, someone whose authority protects instead of intimidates. This is not accidental. It is the quiet reflection of the shepherd you have been walking with. And as you continue to align your heart with his, the field around you keeps responding.
What makes this transformation real is not found in grand gestures. It is revealed in the quiet choices no one applauds. It is in the way you close a door softly instead of letting it slam, the way you set something down carefully instead of dropping it, the way your voice lowers when frustration rises instead of competing with it. It is in the pause you take before responding, the breath you draw instead of reacting, the decision to step away rather than escalate. It is in the way you move around something smaller than you, an animal, a child, even a fragile object. You do not rush. You do not tower. You do not assert power simply because you can. You make space. You adjust your posture. You choose gentleness. You notice a small creature in your path and guide it away instead of ignoring it. You handle interruptions without harshness. You treat inconvenience without cruelty. No one films these moments. No one congratulates you for them. Most people never even see them, but they matter. Because these small, unannounced choices send a signal into the space around you. They communicate safety. They communicate restraint. They communicate that strength does not need to prove itself through force, and everything responds. The air feels lighter. The room feels softer. Living beings feel it instantly. The dog that once startled now rests deeply. The child who once braced now relaxes. The anxious heart near you slows its rhythm without knowing why. You may think you are simply being careful, but you are actually embodying something much deeper. You are embodying control that has been surrendered to wisdom, power that has been submitted to love. And that brings us to something many misunderstand. Being chosen is often imagined as something dramatic, a spotlight, a stage, a defining moment that everyone can see, a calling that looks impressive, a platform that looks important. But heaven measures differently. Being chosen is not a spotlight. It is how you move in small spaces. It is who you are in the kitchen when no one is watching. It is how you speak when you are tired. It is how you respond when plans fall apart. It is how you handle inconvenience without turning it into hostility. It is how you treat what is fragile. Scripture says in Isaiah 42:3, "A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench." That is how the servant of the Lord is described. Not crushing what is already weak, not extinguishing what is barely holding on. Think about that. A bruised reed is already bent. It would take almost nothing to snap it. A smoking flax is barely burning. One careless breath could put it out. Yet the mark of divine character is restraint, care, measured strength. And that is what has been forming in you. Gentleness is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is having the power to overwhelm and choosing not to. It is having the right to react and choosing to respond.
It is having the ability to dominate and choosing to protect. That is real authority. And when that kind of authority enters a room, everything feels it, not as pressure, not as fear, but as safety. The music rises because something sacred is happening here. You are not being shaped for noise, you are being shaped for presence, not for performance, but for quiet impact. And the world, seen and unseen, is already responding. If you have ever wondered why animals relax around you, why a restless dog settles at your feet, why a cautious cat chooses your lap, why birds continue singing when you step outside, if you have noticed that tensed spaces soften when you arrive, that anxious shoulders lower, that conversations become gentler without you forcing them to, this is not random. Pause. This is not coincidence. It is not charm. It is not something you imagined into existence. It is evidence. Evidence of an inner work that has been unfolding quietly for years. Evidence that your spirit is no longer at war with itself. Evidence that the shepherd you have been following is shaping your presence into something steady and safe. Heaven has been confirming who you are becoming, not through applause, not through platforms, but through response. Through the way living things draw near instead of pulling away. Through the way the atmosphere shifts when you walk in. Through the subtle, honest reactions of creation itself. You may still see your flaws. You may still feel unfinished, but peace is already flowing through you in ways you cannot fully measure. And that matters. Music slows. You are not trying to prove anything anymore. You are not performing goodness. You are not striving to appear spiritual. You are not forcing influence. You are becoming someone whose presence brings calm. Someone who doesn't have to raise their voice to be heard. Someone who doesn't have to dominate to lead. Someone who carries authority gently. Slow down and let this settle. Creation understands. The dog resting at your feet understands. The bird lingering on the branch understands. The anxious heart that relaxes beside you understands. They are responding to the peace you carry. Keep walking. Keep choosing the soft answer. Keep choosing restraint over reaction. Keep choosing mercy in small, invisible moments. You are being trusted with peace. That is no small thing, and you are carrying it well. Music fades into soft piano. Light filters through trees. The scene grows still.